Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we are diving into a major moment in South Africa's political landscape, the #VAT Victory March led by Economic Freedom Fighters President and Commander-in-Chief, Julius Malema. This wasn't just a routine protest. This was a bold, highly symbolic march from the Union Buildings to the National Treasury, aimed directly at the heart of South Africa's economic power structure. Thousands of EFF supporters took to the streets of Pretoria in a striking show of resistance. Clad in red, they marched with a clear message: VAT is killing the poor, and the ANC government must be held accountable. The march was about more than just a tax. It was about justice, dignity, and the widening economic divide in South Africa. So, what exactly sparked this latest demonstration? To put it plainly, value-added tax. VAT is a consumption tax added to most goods and services in South Africa. In 2018, it was increased from 14% to 15%, a move the government said was necessary to address revenue shortfalls. But the EFF has opposed it from day one, arguing that the increase disproportionately hurts the poor, who already spend most of their income on basic goods. The EFF's argument is simple but powerful: why should the poor pay more for food and essentials while corruption remains rampant, luxury perks for ministers continue, and the rich are shielded from serious taxation? This protest was the culmination of that argument. Malema led from the front, literally. With flags flying and chants echoing through the streets, he marched side by side with ordinary South Africans, making it clear that this issue isn't going away anytime soon. In fact, he's turning it into a national campaign. The symbolism of marching from the Union Buildings, the seat of executive power, to the National Treasury, cannot be overlooked. It sent a direct challenge to those in charge of South Africa's fiscal decisions. The message? Economic policies must serve the people, not punish them. Let's not forget that VAT is paid by everyone, whether you're rich or poor. But the impact is vastly different. For a low-income household, even a 1% increase means less money for food, school supplies, or transport. Meanwhile, the rich barely notice the difference. That's why the EFF calls this a regressive tax, one that burdens the struggling majority rather than those who can afford to contribute more. Malema and the EFF are calling for the VAT increase to be scrapped and replaced with progressive taxation. They want the government to implement wealth taxes, raise corporate taxes, and go after companies that dodge paying their fair share. It's a radical demand, but one that's finding support among South Africans who feel increasingly squeezed by rising costs, stagnant wages, and unemployment that remains among the highest in the world. Let's take a moment to look at the broader context. This march comes at a time when trust in the ANC is weakening. Scandals, service delivery failures, and factional battles have rocked the ruling party. Opposition parties like the EFF are stepping in to fill the vacuum, and they're doing it through visible, grassroots mobilization. The #VAT Victory March is part of that strategy. By focusing on a single, high-impact issue like VAT, the EFF is able to rally support beyond its usual base. It's no longer just about ideology, it's about food prices, electricity bills, and everyday survival. But this protest also touches on deeper, more sensitive political questions. For example, why is South Africa still stuck in a system where the working class carries the tax burden while massive wealth remains untapped? Why hasn't the government implemented measures to tax luxury goods, second homes, or high net worth individuals more aggressively? And why does economic justice always seem to come second to political convenience? The Treasury's response so far has been cautious. Officials argue that scrapping the VAT increase would lead to a loss of roughly R23 billion annually, money they say is essential for social grants, education, and health care. But critics, including the EFF, say this argument is dishonest. They point to massive wasteful expenditure, corrupt tenders, and bloated ministerial benefits as areas that could easily be trimmed instead of squeezing ordinary people. In fact, it's these very contradictions that fuel the EFF's appeal. They're not just marching, they're building a narrative that says the government is not only incompetent but complicit in the economic oppression of the masses. Whether you agree or not, it's a message that resonates deeply with people who feel ignored and left behind. Let's not forget how powerful protest politics can be in South Africa. From the anti-apartheid marches to the hashtag Fees Must Fall movement, public pressure has a history of forcing change. The EFF is tapping into that legacy, but with a modern twist, mixing street power with parliamentary disruption, media savvy, and populist energy. And this is just the beginning. Julius Malema made it clear during the march that more actions will follow if their demands are not met. He's calling on labor unions, student movements, civil society groups, and even other opposition parties to join what he calls a broader campaign for economic justice. This could evolve into a nationwide mobilization, one that places serious pressure on the Treasury ahead of the next budget cycle. The timing is no accident either. With the 2026 local elections on the horizon, every political move now is about positioning. The EFF is framing itself as the only party willing to fight for the poor, not with boardroom speeches, but with boots on the ground. So what does all of this mean for the future? Well, it signals a shift in political tactics. We're moving into an era where street action and policy battles are becoming increasingly intertwined. The line between protest and policy is blurring, and that's where parties like the EFF are gaining momentum. Whether or not the VAT is reduced, the march has already achieved something significant. It has forced the conversation. It has reminded government officials that economic decisions have real-life consequences. And it has shown once again that political power doesn't just sit in parliament, it marches in the streets. So what do you think? Was the EFF right to take their fight to the Treasury's doorstep? Should VAT be scrapped or restructured? And is it finally time for the rich to carry more of the tax burden in South Africa? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you found it informative, and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth political commentary from across South Africa. Your support helps us keep bringing you stories that matter. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay critical. See you next time.